Here's the part I never thought I'd say out loud to strangers on the internet. I married a billionaire, and for 14 months, my husband did not love me. Our marriage had rules on paper that banned love, banned touch, banned anything that looked like a heart. And then one forbidden kiss on a crowded train platform blew the whole deal to pieces. If it were you, would you have taken that kiss or stepped onto the train and never looked back? I learned to measure time by small rejections, not calendars or seasons. The Manhattan penthouse had windows like movie screens looking down on Central Park couples, threading their fingers together, like it was the easiest thing in the world, laughter floating up like a language I used to speak and forgot. Behind me, the espresso machine purred, and then his voice cut clean through the quiet, cool, and efficient. The Peterson contract needs to be finalized by noon. That was our love language bullet points and deadlines. No good morning, no how did you sleep, just business. Of course I said, because what else do you say when your marriage feels like a boardroom and you're the unpaid staff wearing a ring? Let me be honest. People hear billionaire and think I married for cash. I married for safety. The first divorce took a wrecking ball to my bank account. My mother's medical bills stacked like bricks, and when he offered stability, I told myself I could live with empty if it meant we kept the lights on. The contract was explicit. No emotional involvement, no intimacy, no pretending. I signed with a steady hand and a shaky heart, convinced I was choosing survival over chaos. You know what I mean. Sometimes silence looks like peace until you try to breathe. He adjusted his cufflinks, already scanning his phone, already halfway out the door in his head. I'll be in Boston until Wednesday. The charity gala is Thursday. Morrison will brief you. Morrison was his assistant, the man who knew when I'd stand next to my husband and smile like a chandelier. I wanted to say, look at me, I am right here, but the elevator chimed and swallowed him whole. I texted my best friend and typed backspace until the screen was blank. Do you think that's fair? To live with a person who never really looks at you? The gala at the plaza should have been our night. I chose a midnight blue gown that fit like a secret, pinned my hair, with the kind of care that hurts your fingers, practiced a smile that photographs well. He stepped out in a tux that could sell cologne and said, "You look beautiful," in the same tone he used to compliment quarterly reports, then checked his watch. In the limo, I tried to build a bridge across ice. I read about the literacy program we're supporting. Maybe we could visit a school together, read to the kids. His eyes stayed on his phone. We fulfill our obligations financially. The way he said financially, like the word itself was an ethics class, made something in me wince. At the auction, A Week in Tuscany flashed on the screen, and I let myself imagine a vacation, two people remembering how to be human. That sounds lovely, I whispered. He didn't even turn his head. I don't have time for vacations. You can bid on it for yourself. As if we were strangers at neighboring tables. As if the idea of 7 days side by side was unthinkable. The elevator ride home was 14 floors of silence that rang in my ears like an alarm I kept snoozing. Morning brought a smaller hope. Breakfast. 2 mugs, 10 minutes a hand on a countertop. Maybe we could have breakfast together. I offered, keeping my voice light, like I was asking a neighbor, not my husband. I don't eat breakfast, he answered, eyes still on an email. Too much sugar disrupts cognitive function. Not, I'm not hungry. Not maybe another time. A sentence built out of TED Talk ice. I tried again this weekend, a walk in Central Park. MoMA. He didn't look up, I'll be working. The Henderson acquisition requires immediate attention. Every weekend, I said, and that's when his gaze finally lifted, cool and annoyed. Some of us have responsibilities that extend beyond social calendars and shopping appointments. Shopping appointments. I had traded my career for a calendar I didn't control, and in his mouth I was a cliché in heels. Yeah, that happened. Here's where friendship saves lives. Lunch with Nana in Brooklyn, at a place that smells like coffee and rent, do not marble and hush. Before you lie to me, I've known you since freshman year, she said. You look like a ghost. I told her about the mornings without hello, and the nights without good night, the invitations without conversation, the line items where my name should be so. I am disappearing, I said, and my voice sounded small in my own mouth. She squeezed my hand and held it like a lifeline. Then stop disappearing. If he refuses to see you, you see you. Be the main character in your own life again. Hard truth, soft voice. Pattern interrupt. I listened. I walked my old loop like a pilgrim, the coffee shop where I used to draft scenes on napkins, the bookstore where I put my fingers on spines and made promises I meant. Alex from my writers group spotted me paint on his jeans and light in his eyes. Savannah, is that you? He laughed. Look at you. All Fifth Avenue and no sleep. We sat at a wobbly table, knees bumping, and he talked about making art that doesn't always pay but always matters. Are you still writing? He asked. The question landed like a clean cut. No, I said, and the word tasted like dust. Shame, he nodded, not pitying, just true, that story about the woman who forgot how to dream. It had teeth. For a minute I felt a spark I remembered from a past life, then the spark dimmed under all the curated perfection I wore like armor. The breaking point wasn't dramatic. Tuesday morning, a note on the marble island in precise handwriting that could sign off on mergers back Thursday. Board meeting Friday requires your attendance. Morrison will brief you. Not miss you, not hope you sleep well, not even a lazy, smiley face. Instructions. Logistics. As if the only thing valuable about me was my ability to stand quietly and look appropriate. I had a lunch on the calendar with women who collect charity committees like bracelets, and a beige dress, steamed and waiting, and something inside me said no. Not a scream, a decision. No more pretending. No more speaking only when spoken to. No more being a very expensive lamp. I reached behind couture gowns and pulled out contraband jeans like a teenager sneaking out a window. Queens was where I landed, a small apartment that smelled like fresh paint and honest beginnings, a slice of morning light laying across a second-hand table. I went to Nana first. We cried and laughed and packed a suitcase the way you pack a life, my grandmother's jewelry box, the dog-eared books with my notes in the margins, photos from the before. That night, I wrote a letter with shaking hands and a steady heart. By the time you read this, I'll be gone. Not to punish you, to save myself. I can't live as a ghost in a place built like a museum. I set my ring on the dresser, where the light would catch it, and tell the truth for me, called a yellow cab, and rode the elevator down like I was leaving a tower in a story I finally understood. Stick around, because what happened next will blow your mind, he noticed. Not instantly, not with violins, but when he came home and saw the ring on the dresser, and my letter folded clean, something in him cracked. I wasn't there to see it, but later he told me he sat in a chair he never used and read my words until the walls lost their edges. He canceled a board meeting. For him, that was unheard of. He called my phone and got voicemail, called Morrison, and said nothing that helped, stood in rooms that cost more than most people earn in a decade, and realized they were beautiful and empty. He started searching the way he knows how investigators and phone calls and money thrown at a problem money created. And when all that didn't work, he did the thing he should have done first. He went to the person who would tell him the truth to his face. He knocked on Nana's door in Brooklyn and met a woman with paint on her overalls and steel in her spine. "You don't deserve her," she said before he asked the question. He didn't bargain. He didn't charm. He said low and wrecked, "I know." Then he said the thing I didn't know, the twist that turned the whole story on its head. "I was married before." He didn't tell me in some glossy magazine interview. He told me on a train platform with a whistle cutting the air and a countdown in red numbers. Platform 7. 2 small suitcases, an 8:15 train to Philadelphia, a decision that felt like a blade in my hand. I saw him from a distance, his tie crooked, his eyes wide, the way a person looks when they realize they've been underwater and finally break the surface. "Don't," I said. When he reached me, "Don't make this harder." "Give me 5 minutes," he asked, and I don't know why I nodded. Maybe because grief recognizes grief even when it's wearing an expensive suit. "Her name was Anna," he said, and the station noise went soft at the edges. "We were married 5 years. We had a daughter, Lily. She was 3 and fearless. A drunk driver ran a red light on the way to dance class. I lost them both in a single hour. After that, I promised myself I would never love like that again. I built walls and called them stability. I wrote a contract and called it safety. Then I married you and convinced myself you were a role, not a person. I was wrong. I was afraid." The conductor called final boarding. People flowed around us, a river parting at 2 rocks. "You made me feel invisible," I said, and my voice shook with anger and old sadness. "For 14 months, I begged for crumbs." "I know," he said, stepping closer, but not touching, like the space between us had laws again. "I can't undo a second of it, but I can tell you the truth. I felt everything for you from the start. Every time you tried to talk over coffee, every time you lit up about books, every time you reached for my hand, and I pretended I didn't see it. I felt it. I was terrified that loving you meant losing you too. So I chose a different kind of losing, the kind that kills slowly and politely." Do you believe him? Or do you think people only change when they're scared enough? "The train is leaving," I said, half warning, half test. "Let it," he whispered, leaning his forehead to mine the way you do when you pray. "Let it leave without you. And let me take you home, not to my schedule or status, to a life I will fight to deserve every day. No contracts, no walls. Just you and me telling the truth even when it hurts." "How do I know you won't go cold again tomorrow?" I asked. "Because a kiss can't fix a pattern." He laughed, a little broken and sincere. "Because I met the version of myself without you this week, and I can't live as that man again." The penthouse was a morgue. The meetings were noise. Money can buy silence, not meaning. You make my life make sense. I did the thing our contract forbade. I kissed my husband. It wasn't soft or tidy. It was a wrecking ball, a vow with breath in it, 14 months of no, and 5 days of maybe melting into one loud yes. He kissed me back like a drowning man holding a rope, like a person who finally let himself feel and didn't die from it. We were crying when we pulled apart, both of us, both knew, both aware that a kiss is the beginning of work, not the end of it. "Take me home," I said. "Where's home?" he asked, voice small for the first time. "Wherever you are, if you see me, if you choose me. Every day." "I promise," he said, and for the first time since I met him, I believed him. 6 months later, the penthouse is still high and full of light, but it looks like people live there. The study door stays open. There are plants fighting for their lives and winning a little. Photos of us mid-laughter, not mid-pose. On Tuesdays, he makes pancakes that are objectively bad, and I eat every bite. We stood under a tree in Central Park with a handful of our people and said vows that tasted like truth, not strategy. My mother cried the whole time in the good way. He doesn't hide from the past anymore. He says their names out loud, and I listen, and we sit together in the quiet after, and somehow that makes the quiet kind. He did something I didn't ask for and didn't know how to want. One morning he handed me an envelope like it was a fragile bird. Inside was a single page with my name at the top, Executive Director, Whitlock Foundation for Children's Literacy. You once wanted to read to kids, and I told you to write a check. He said I was wrong. This is yours to lead. I'll fund and follow. He had already filed the paperwork. Already found partners, already told Morrison. This wasn't optics, it was purpose. And because he is who he is, he couldn't stop there. He sent a few of my short stories to a publisher with my permission this time, and they said yes. They want to publish a collection. He looked ridiculous in our kitchen, proud and shy at once, and I said the thing that changed my life twice, yes. We aren't magic. Don't mistake this for a fairy tale. There are days when he feels the old ice creeping back, days when my body remembers the museum, and my voice goes small, and we call it out. We take a walk, we touch each other's hands in the middle of the kitchen, and say what's true. Love isn't fireworks forever. It's maintenance with bright nights sprinkled in. Choosing is a verb. Forgiveness is a practice. Grief is a roommate, not a villain. You know what I mean? So let me ask you the hard questions because I really want to hear what you think. Was I brave or reckless to leave a golden cage for an apartment with peeling paint and honest light knowing my mother's bills were waiting? Did he deserve a second chance after treating me like an accessory for 14 months? Or did I reward behavior that should have been a deal breaker? Does grief explain indifference, or do we give too much grace to people who hurt us because their pain sounds noble? If it were you on Platform 7, 2 suitcases and a ticket in your hand, would you have stepped onto that train or turned back toward the person asking for 5 minutes and a lifetime? Here's my last truth for tonight. The kiss didn't fix us, the work did. The apology didn't erase the past, consistency did. Money didn't save me, courage did. And the contract we broke on that platform, we replaced it with something better. A daily promise that we renew with coffee cups and eye contact, and the quiet bravery of showing up when it would be easier to shut down. Tell me everything. Was I right to walk, or did I just get lucky that he chased me? Do you think a second wedding can rewrite a first contract? Or does it just mean you learn to read the fine print of your own heart? Drop your take in the comments, argue with me, tell me where you're watching from, share the moment you chose yourself, or chose love, or both. If this story hit you, tap like so it reaches someone who needs a nudge, subscribe for more messy, honest stories, and send this to the one friend who keeps forgetting that brave and scared can live in the same sentence. Your voice matters here, and I can't wait to read it.